Thank you for joining us for our webinar today. The topic we're going to discuss is how to unlock the full transformative potential of data with data governance and enterprise architecture. So I am Frédéric Fourquet. I'm a senior product marketing manager for data governance. I'm an experienced and former consulting director and product solution director on data governance and AI. And today we'll be together with Nicolas to present you the topics, the concepts, and to give you as well a demo of our solution. So we are both part of Mega. Mega is a worldwide leader in enterprise architecture. It's been on the Magic Quadrant for Gartner in 30 years in a row. You have some good peer insights and customer feedbacks. You can see there we are recognized as well by Forrester. So that's on the EA, that's on the business processes, and that's as well on the GRC, the risk and compliance. So we have Forrester and we have Smartmatic as well, recognition. What are the key challenges for chief data officers in 2022? So the first challenge is about data knowledge. Data knowledge is about discovering data you have in companies, to be able to build data catalogs and to build business glossaries. This is the first step, and the change in 2022 is that this knowledge has to be connected to the business, connected to the strategy, and connected with our strategic initiatives in a company. The second challenge, once you have knowledge about the data, is to ensure that the data has the right quality. Then just is about integrity topic. So integrity is about quality, is about lineage, is about usage of data. And the big change in 2022, the trend we see is that this governance has to be adaptive, because business changes and business, let's say, priorities change and really fast, and IT systems and as well as regulation. So governance has to be adaptive. The third challenge is about compliance. So I mentioned quality, but the higher, the wider topic is about compliance. So each and every day we're just getting chief data officer, they have to face regulations coming to them. So regulations about business, it could be GDPR, it could be BCBS 239, it could be Solvency II, it could be anything. It could be the new Data Governance Act that we have here now in let's say in Europe. So as part of compliance, you have got data. Chief data officers, they have to focus on data compliance, especially they have to ensure that controls, processes, and data, they are really compliant with what they have to prove. The fourth topic is about value. So actually, this is the first topic. This is the aim of data governance. Data governance is a business initiative. What people want to do, what CEOs want to do, is that they want to get knowledge about the data to be able to create additional value. So 2 points there. So the chief data officer, he has to create to gain that knowledge and to be able to provide it for data innovation. So people from AI, people from business, they have to be able to do some data shopping, actually, just to implement new and descriptive cases for enterprise architecture, starting from enterprise architecture, doing some artificial intelligence cases. It could be about creating new services, and it could be as well just to understand and predict customer behavior, just to produce some useful recommendation to the customer or to the sales people. Last challenge is about community, because data governance is about setting up and creating a data community around the data. So it's about working on data culture. It's about just expanding data literacy in the company. And this is something that is really important, because that's a topic and a challenge that has to be thought about starting from the beginning. Because the chief data officer, they have to be ready to communicate on what they do, how they build, they say, data knowledge, how the data is used, and just to be able to communicate on the results and let's say on the quick wins that they have. And that's the part of building the community and communicating with the community just to get everybody on board and to get everybody motivated to get into a new data culture trend. Okay, when setting up data governance, on the right we see, let's say, a regular, a simple data governance path, starting from data discovery in systems, and then after building the data catalog, it's about typing the data. Then after being able to create the business glossary, that is the business level layer of they say business data. And then after working on the other topics such as data quality, data compliance, and data lineage. And finally, being able to just to follow what's going on and to be able to communicate with the community what's going on, the successes, the new data, and new potential that data governance brings to the company. But when we see on the real world, coming from let's say customer projects, we can see 5 main pains there. The first one is it's really, that's a big program, and sometimes those programs are really too long to set up actually, because they want to embrace, they want to cover too much scope at once, and they fail to deliver the value because actually sometimes they fail before giving access to the business glossary. So the programs that are too long to set up, so the need is for the chief data officer to be able to reduce time to deliver value. The second point is that data discovery is lacking IT context knowledge. It means that when you start from data discovery, you're just discovering data that is technical data. But technical data doesn't come with, let's say, the meaning of the data, the business meaning. The business meaning is that you don't know from the context side point of view, you don't know where the data is stored. So what's really important is that you need to understand where the data is stored, and as well which application is using that data. The third point is about data catalog. So when chief data officer, they want to switch from data catalog, that's the technical side, when they want to go to the business glossary side, the fact is, again, technical data, this is not, as I mentioned just before, you don't have the business meaning of data. So chief data officer, they have to find a way and to find some help in building the business glossary. The fourth pain is, again, is about business glossary. It's really hard to generate from data catalog, as mentioned before. The fact is, that's the method of for building, let's say, the business language. Cannot be only starting from the technical side. So we'll see a solution on how to find and to produce say quick value. The fifth point and the pain is that so you just chief data officer, they have to build let's say the data governance programs, they have to build again the data catalog and business glossary, but that's not an only one-time story. Is that this let's say program, they have to be maintained and in the long run. So everything changes from the IT side, everything changes from the business side. So get ready, and let's say the chief data officer, they have to be ready to sustain their data governance program in the long run. So why should we connect enterprise architecture and data governance? So we all know the chief data officers. He has to manage data, knowledge. He has to make it available in the business version, and for the people just to be able to consume it for business performance, business transformation, and innovation. So the 3 use cases about knowledge, trust, and data literacy. On the other side, you have the enterprise architect. So just to give a quick view on what this persona has as really good strengths and powers, I would say. So the enterprise architect, let's say, mission is about starting for the company strategy, just to be able to define the capabilities that are needed, and especially from the IT side to support the business in the long run. So what happens is that, as I mentioned, change comes every day. So application has to be rationalized. Sometimes systems have to be migrated to the cloud, or some processes that have to be changed to be digitalized. The architect view on IT and business. First thing, the architect has a view on business processes because he's responsible for modeling processes, business processes, and for example, customer journey. We can see it on the left side. He has to divide business capabilities in link with the wider company strategy and let's say strategic goals. So it could be the ability just to serve the customer, to produce a new digital customer journey as well. So this is just the business capability map that has to be done. And then starting from business capability, he has to provide recommendation on how and which application to be implemented, and to be able as well to sustain and to do it in the long run. Another view that the enterprise architect have is that they have really good skill about building conceptual views and technical views. So it is starting from technical models. So this one is a technical model. This is what you have in the database, for example, could be, and you can see the different tables with the links that, for example, the customer is linked with orders and so on. So that's a global view from the technical data that you have in systems. But enterprise architects, they're really good at building conceptual views, conceptual models, or business models. These models, they are just working on business data. That is actually, this is a summarized version of all the concept that you may have in different systems. So the enterprise architect, he has the ability just to create those models, and especially to be able to describe the links between business data and other data that may be interesting. And that's really a big point because this information is really valuable for change management, especially in systems. It's really good as well for the people that they want to reuse the data. So when they want to work, starting from this data, they can see all the data that is linked. And this is where the values of AI is first on crossing, on finding ways on crossing new data axis altogether. And this starts from, let's say, a conceptual view that the enterprise architect is used to do for a long time. So what are the enterprise architecture accelerators that the enterprise architect can provide to chief data officer? So we saw the pains, the first pain, and this example is coming from one of our customer in the transportation industry. So this customer was following the data governance path, the standard method, starting from data discovery, building data catalog, and finally trying to set up the business glossary. So the way the chief data officer was building with his data steward team from the data office. So they was trying to do some summary of all the data they have in the data catalog to be able to produce the summary versions, all the customer data, that just customer data becomes one customer concept in the business glossary. So there's a technical complexity. You have two difficulties there. The first one is that you had really a lot of data and systems that were really discovered, and it's really difficult to make that synthesis. The second point is usually what happens is that you create a synthesis and that you have to validate with all the stakeholders, all the business directors, and so on. So it was taking really a long time, and there was an issues about producing the first results for the people just to get actionable information to create some value. This is where the chief data officer got some help from the enterprise architecture department and director, because the enterprise architect is used to work on building conceptual models. The way it was done, just to ensure the success of the program, is that the enterprise architect was involved actually to create the global concepts, and that was a way to shorten the time to create the concept and to get approval from all the different stakeholders. So by joining forces between the chief data officer, the enterprise architect, this main company was able to reduce that complexity to be able to produce business glossary. And this business glossary, that was the first version of the business glossary that could be directly used for the people for business purposes. So that's a big point, and that's one of the big accelerators. The second accelerator that you can get from enterprise architecture is that enterprise architect, as I mentioned, so they're working from the strategy. Then after they just define the applications that have to be implemented in the IT systems to answer those needs. So this one is coming from solution architecture management that enterprise architecture is producing and managing. For example, this one just described the application that is financial systems, and we can see that this one is especially focusing on the payroll side of it. So in that kind of diagram, you can see the data that is used. This one is monthly employee attendance information. Going to the payroll component, and we have somebody just interacting with the system. And this information serves for collecting and calculating monthly wages, and this is the way you get the payroll done. So this information is really interesting because when you have to discover the data, you just discover technical data, but you don't know where the data is stored and where the data is used in application. This information is already there, is already mastered by the enterprise architect. So this information gives application knowledge that is really important to do the data categorization and typing just to create the data catalog. That's the first point. The second point is you can see there is you can see the data flows between different parts of IT systems. So it's a way, and that's really important way that we're just starting from business side because we have information of the semantic of the changes that happens between let's say components in the systems. So that's really valuable information that for this international bank was really useful to build the business data lineage. So again, that's an accelerator. It's about knowledge. It's about business knowledge, and that really is really useful for chief data officer. The third feedback we have it's from one big express industry in Europe, so data governance is not only about understanding the data right now, because data has a life cycle. So the life cycle, actually, again, this company they took it from the business process point of view. The business process, this is an example of order management. So in the business process, you can see all the different steps, all the different stages that somebody is performing using system, for example. You can see each and every step there. And for on this one, we can see that if you have already business process management and modeling in place, and that's the case for this industry and this company, you can see there that, for example, this one is about order management. So we can see that we're starting the process and we're just getting information about the customer. So this information gets received, processed. So then you have a call about the customer for some additional information to identify the person. And this data is then stored as customer information. The request for order gets validated, and then the order gets submitted, and finally you get one order, and one invoice. So in the process, you can see the data, where the data is, let's say, entered or captured, where the data gets calculated, and where the data gets used, and what the purpose in the usage of data, the business purpose. So that information, again, is really important because it's not, they say chief data officer, it's not only about technical stuff, it's about business stuff. So with the business process, so it's a way just to type, to do easier data cataloging, the technical side of it, and the business glossary side of it as well, because you have the business concept, as I mentioned. The second point is the business, the data life cycle is there. You can see when the data gets created, used, and especially for privacy data, that happens sometimes, you have to dispose the data. So that information for this customer was really important because it gave a way for the customer to speed up the setup of his data governance program, starting from the business process side. The third example is in the international bank. So the chief data officer was really happy because he was able just to create his data governance cycle. data knowledge, compliance, literacy, business transformation, and innovation. And this asset, the two assets that are really important in data governance, they are data catalog and business glossary. But and again, everything changes from time to time. So strategy changes, context changes, regulation changes, and IT system change. So what's really important to be able to handle change and to have data governance as a sustainable program in the long run. So this information can come and came for this international, but came from the enterprise architect side, because the enterprise architect, he knows the changes that would happen, that need to happen in the systems, especially from the capabilities, from the systems, and from the data, because he has the view on the, say, the global business model, on the concept, on the data, and the links. So the really important part is this model and that knowledge beforehand. So you have that information, and this information for the chief data officer, he knows that he may need to change the data knowledge because he may gain some new data coming from new capabilities, coming from a business process as well. That's the other point. So it helped him actually to do some predictive beforehand data governance methods before things happened, not to be reactive, but to be proactive and to plan, to be able to plan in advance. So it was in a way as well to provide easier impact analysis on changes that need to be done. And the other point is it was a way to speed up data innovation, because as soon you know that new data is coming, new data is going to be available from the system side, actually, they can be entered into the business glossary, and this business glossary can be used actually for data scientists and for business purposes, creating new innovation, new services to the customer, or performance enhancements. Okay, just a quick word about HOPEX. So we're going to have a demo from Nick in a minute. Just for you to know that our positioning is obviously we are just providing technical side of say a data governance, but just providing the business side as well. So the business side is there, and we have a platform that's just a comprehensive offer for all the different actors. Could be business actors, can be using and reusing the business glossary and the data catalog, all the data office and the data owners, setting up the data catalogs, handling compliance and managing the data governance. So that's our point of view. Our philosophy is that actually we know that you already have some system in place in your IT landscape, and what we really want to do is to be able just to integrate the software. For example, if you have some data quality measurement system, we just integrate what you have. We just not reinvented the wheel. So hybridation is for us something really important for you, because that's a factor of success for you in your data governance project. This one, I think you understand it right now, because that's what the topic of the customer feedbacks. It is just providing unique synergies, because we just have enterprise architecture modules, business process management modules, and GRC modules. And this information are available in a single platform. So our single platform on the data governance, let's say, solution itself. So we have the full stack, we have the discovery module, data discovery, connector pack that are plug and play. So you can retrieve any metadata from databases, from data lakes, from other systems. You have as well that helps to create an automated data catalog, an automated business glossary. And starting from those assets, then you can handle topics such as data compliance, data quality, and data lineage. That's actually part of one big topic. This our solution. We have a really good strength because we're just leaders on that side for a long time, especially on conceptual modeling and data architecture. And our platform is able to handle any business rule or business roles, because yeah, that's a real life in data governance programs. Our solution comes with an ethics layer, with reports, validation workflow, and collaboration engine. And last but not least, but this is really important to do it, we're just providing business insight dashboard for the customer for the chief data officer to be able to manage the works in the data office and to be able to communicate and just to share with the people to enhance data literacy. So we have the data governance, and you can leverage and some other enterprise architecture boosters. So we have let's say enterprise architecture, IT architecture, application, and application performance management module and solution. We just have a business process management solution and the governance, risk, and compliance solution. So now, as I can see, we don't have any questions there. So I'm just handing over to Nick for a demonstration of our solution.
That's great. Thank you, Fred. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Just one moment. All right, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. Thank you for participating in this webinar today. If anybody has any questions, or if you need some kind of additional follow-up from the Mega HOPEX team, you can put that in as a question. You can also reach out directly to myself, Fred, or Elspeth, if you have any other additional questions or comments that you want to make about today's webinar. So the focus clearly is data governance. And then really more specifically, our view on uniting the data governance world, information architecture, with enterprise architecture. So in this demo today, we're going to cover quite a bit of ground in a relatively short amount of time. So I'm going to walk you through what we have for data discovery, how you can categorize your data, generate some reports in terms of the business glossary, the data dictionary, how we can link all that together. I've got some different views that hopefully we have time for the data. Let's look at data lineage, some compliance. Again, this is going to be a pretty brisk demo. We're going to be moving pretty quick. I won't be able to get into all the detail. Again, so use that question or the question box or follow up with us separately. So what you see on your screen right now is HOPEX. So this is the main UI. I'm logged in as a data governance user, so we have different profile types that give different details. So everything is based on a template with this platform. It's an object-oriented repository, and you'll see that in some of the reports that we can generate. Other profiles have more specific views. So a process designer is going to be more focused on BPMN notation. A solution architect is going to be more focused on the structure or deployment, technical architecture of our applications. This is data governance, so we can get into those areas, but based on the templates, we might not have as much details readily available to us. Either way, the UI is the same, so the look and feel is the same across the board. You've got a home screen, it's got tiles, we can move these around, rearrange them as you like. You've got navigation on the left-hand side with some different submenus that are hidden. And then you have a notification engine here in the top right. So when Fred talks about managing workflows or receiving updates, this is where you can go to manage those different workflows and updates. So you can receive a notification directly here in HOPEX and or through email. We commonly see our customers using email in conjunction there. So to begin, we're going to drill into our catalog. So I've already performed a data discovery here, and this is where you can import or bring in various different data stores, metadata sets. So we have this online data discovery tool, and that's what I'm connecting to right here, just to give you a sort of the flavor of what we have. But then there's also a standalone desktop tool that you can download and use as well. So I've already performed the import, and I performed it on a Cassandra database. So that's our example right here. But you can see what we cover. So it's a lot of what you would expect, plus some other, maybe more niche players as well. So from Excel to Cassandra to Oracle to SQL, we can point at those different sources, and then we can import that into HOPEX. So the way this works is you would just pick your source. You have an input for if you have a password or a port or whatever it is you need to actually access that. You tap into that database, and then you can pick and choose what data you actually want to bring into HOPEX. And then when you perform that initial discovery, it's going to come across looking very similar to what we have here in our managed data store. So I have a duplicate here just so I can sort of show you the before and after. So bike stores, this is one data store right here. When you import it, a lot of the information is going to be blank. You can then start to describe your data. So this is what it looks like when you first import it. So we have bike stores, and then we have all this different data, brands, category, customers. But then you can start to categorize it, you can tag it, and then you can use those to then generate reports. So brands, categories, I've already categorized these, whether it's sensitive, we have contact, golden data. There's no limit on how many different categorizations that you use. It's totally up to you. You can assign as many as you like. We also have this tagging feature. So if this is for, let's just say it's for a specific purpose, we want to link it to all bank accounts. I can reuse a tag there. I can create a new tag if I wanted to. It just kind of depends on what you need to do to manage this. And then for anyone that's unfamiliar with HOPEX, this is an ID card. So we're looking at this Cassandra discovery. We can assign responsibility. So who are the different people or persons that are responsible for this data? What is their type? So we have some data scientists, data steward. That's an example of some of the different roles that we provide out of the box, but you can configure those, add your own. We can also connect this to regulatory frameworks. So if there's something specific like GDPR or whatever it might be, we have a partner called UCF, Unified Compliance Framework. They provide all of that, those frameworks, the regulations, and then you can start to harmonize your controls. So I'll show you a report. I'll show you an input for that here in a few minutes. But that's sort of the basics of the discovery. You can point it at the database. You can import what you need. We also have this data source snapshot where you have metadata, right? So if we take our bike stores example, I can collect a snapshot, and it just gives me unique information on my data. How many rows of those rows? How many are unique? So this is valuable in just terms of understanding your data, being able to really drill into it. So that would be like your first step right there. You can perform the data discovery, bring in those metadata sets, but then we have a tool that you can use, and Fred mentioned this, to initialize the business dictionary. So we have our business glossary. We cover that would be your conceptual model. We have the logical model, and then we also have the physical model. So the physical and logical are all included here. I'm not going to focus on that today, but know that it works in a very similar fashion. What you do is you use that tool to initialize your business glossary, and then we have this search feature. So I can search for any type of data that I have. I type in aircraft. A lot of my demo data, just as an FYI, is based around this mega airport example. So we manage everything within this airport, including the aircraft, even down to how do we manage the terminals and the food and beverages that are provided. So we can click here, and this is more of a report right here. So show me the data called aircraft. Looks like I'm lacking some kind of owner. I need to get an input there. I have a data steward. That's me. That's my call out right there for NHD. We can define it. We have our categories. We can also link it to business domains, describe synonyms, hypernyms, depending on how nuanced, how detailed you want to be. But that's one way. So we can quickly search for our data in this read-only sort of view here. And then we also have separate reports. So that's just focused on one concept called aircraft, but we can take that entire glossary if we want. So here I've got my mega airport as an example, and this is just a report that will show me all of the concepts that belong to this dictionary, as well as if they have any components, do they have, has it been categorized, different information like that in a table format. Again, this is an object-oriented repository, so generating different types of reports is certainly possible depending on how you like to visualize it. So this is in a table, but we have other report styles that I'll show you a little bit later on. One's called a dendrogram. You can put together bar graphs. I'll show you that in the dashboard. But this is just one style. So we have our term, we have our definition, what's the category, and then what are the components here. So the idea is there are different ways that you can really start to drill into your data, make sense of it from that sort of micro level. Here's one concept, but then also here in that macro sort of way, here are all of my different concepts. And then here are some of the different categorizations, dependencies, whatever it might be that you're focused on. But then we can take all of these concepts and then we can group them together into their own separate functional domains, and we manage that from our dictionaries. So you can have as many different dictionaries as you need, and then you can reuse all of these concepts. But the idea is that we have a hierarchy. So we got our mega airport example right here in our flat file list. I can expand that. And this, again, is based on that initial data discovery with our metadata. We've got our concept. We can derive that from that import. So here are those concepts: address, aircraft, aircraft diagnostic data view. And then we can group them into domains, which I have here. So this would be a functional description of the data. So aircraft maintenance, airport facilities maintenance, business process integration. But what's important is then we can group them together and then we can visualize it. So then I have a mapping here in my diagram. So this is my airport business information map. The big boxes are the domains, and then we can drill into this to get a more detailed view. So what is the data that belongs to support? Well, I also have these other subdomains: procurement, IT services, catering procurement, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have our data with their CRUD access rights. We can continue to drill into that, and then this is where you have a logical model of our concepts. So in this example, we're just describing what is an employee. So the employee is a person, they have a name, they also have a department that they report to. If anyone is unfamiliar with HOPEX, this is a diagram. It's you can build this out as you like. We have a palette here, so it's what you expect, but what I just want to highlight is that it's based on context. So I'm focused on this, this conceptual model right here. So I'm not seeing anything from the solution architecture. There's nothing about applications. There's nothing about BPMN notation. We're only focused on the data, and the diagram type is what defines that. So we're just focused on our conceptual model. Here it is. We've described an employee. We can use our breadcrumb here to navigate back to our diagram, and then we can make changes to it. So each one of these domains has its own ID card, similar to what we saw earlier. And right here, I'm just adding a new concept. So I already know that in one of my other domains, fault is used. So I start typing, I can reuse the concept. HOPEX is going to automatically make that recommendation that I'm looking for this concept called fault. And then if we navigate just back to our diagram, it's going to refresh for us in real time. So we know that this fault log, there's a dependency with maintenance. We automatically get the line drawn on our diagram here, and then there's a report that's generated as well. So the value in this is, let's say you are moving a part of your business, you're outsourcing it, you're bringing in a new vendor, you're building out a new integration, whatever it might be. You have this high-level view from that diagram that will show you that there's a data dependency, and then we have the visualization layer. So with any of these diagrams, or with your tabular input, you automatically get reports that are generated in real time. So this is a report that's automatically generated. We call it a chord diagram, and it's looking at those dependencies. So it's automatically drawn that on there. Ground ops and maintenance, there's a data dependency there. So that's just the overlay. You can enrich this as you like. You could get into additional reports. You can assess your data, how fresh, how consistent is it? So there's a lot of capabilities here with reporting is what I'm really getting at. So we did our data discovery as our step one, and then we started to define our data further. We used the business glossary. We can search through that, and then we can sort them into functional domains, and then we can report on it. But then we can also understand how is our data actually being used. So if we want to understand how is our data used in a process or an application, we can drill into that using this data usage. So the first screen that we have is data using applications. So this is on the IT side. You've got a drop down here. We could get into IT services, microservices. You can describe logical architectures here as well. And then these are the applications that we have. So one of these is our airportmega.com. In order to open up a diagram, there's a view diagram button. And this is where you start to get a little bit more of a look and feel here. So we're saying that we've got airportmega.com. It's using data, right? We can check in on that. We've got this data area over here where we can have your classic class diagram, UML style view. So that's where we have data in a database, but then we can also describe the technical deployment, for example. So here we've actually described what do we need in order to actually deploy this application. This can be based on a template. We're using the AWS icons here. We also support Azure and Google as well, just as an FYI. So that's just a little bit on the modeling, not primarily the focus today. But you have that capability, and then we can also understand it in terms of the business process. So we have data using applications, data using processes. Again, we can flip open our diagram here. This is a simple example. How do we prepare a meal tray at our mega airport? This is your classic kind of BPMN diagram here. It's flipped, but we've got the content right there. So booked food, that's our content, that's our data. There's an exchange that our client makes with our catering service, that's our participant. We can track all of these different operations. You can link KPIs, you can link risk here. But this is how we look at the data. So we can say that we have this data, we've categorized it, maybe we want to generate a report, show me all my sensitive data, and then drill into that. Now I want to understand it from an IT perspective, and then also a people process perspective as well. So there's significant value there, understanding where, how your data is being used. This is a view that I'm only going to spend just because we're already kind of up against it in time, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for Q&A at the end. But this is data lineage. So this is specifically from that business perspective. And Fred did share a slide with this, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But this is a generated diagram that shows us ultimately how do we create a specific kind of data or concept. In our example, it's a customer. So we have a person that interacts with our sales department. This is another participant, so sales department. It's managed in some kind of application, some kind of system called our CRM, our customer relationship management system. Then we have these different icons. So where you see this, where you see the wheel here, that's indicating that we're making some kind of change, some kind of manipulation to our data. And then here we have this magnifying glass with a check mark. That's just saying that we're just analyzing it in some way. But we can track this across IT, people, process to understand how are we actually generating that customer data from a person who's interacting with us for the first time. So you have application systems, microservice, IT service, specific software technology here that's used, as well as this account management application here at the end of our journey to ultimately generate some data called customer. So it's our business data lineage. Again, it's going to provide value in just understanding how do you create your data, and then are there any kind of pitfalls? Is there any kind of reason why maybe our data is less reliable? So I mentioned that you can assess data. If you use this in conjunction with those assessments, you can get additional value. If there's some kind of drop off in the freshness or quality of data, you can trace it back to that specific element, that specific point where it's being manipulated or changed. Again, I promise we were going to be moving pretty fast here. Again, if you have any questions, input those. We can follow up for more specific, more detailed demos as well. So we're changing gears a little bit here to look at regulatory frameworks. So I mentioned this in the intro. We have a partner. They provide these frameworks. You can get the content there, bring it into HOPEX. I just have a subset of different frameworks here. Scroll up and scroll down. The example that I'm focused on is this BCBS, Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. So this is just a regulatory framework that banks need to follow. They have different articles, different documents that they need to make sure that they're adhering to. So ultimately, how do they, under Principle 2, risk data aggregation capabilities, how do we ensure the accuracy and integrity of our data? And then here we have a rule. As a precondition, a bank should have a dictionary of the concepts used. Can drill into this. We have a further description that we can visualize here. We can define it. So how do I ensure that I am in compliance with this regulation? Well, I'm going to use a data dictionary. So this is another concept. It's called a data dictionary. And then we have our implementations. So we can describe how do we actually make sure that we're following up and being consistent in following this regulation. So I have a business and a system rule here. My business rule is just saying that we're going to review this, quarterly or whatever that specific amount of time is that needs to pass. We're going to continue to review, and then we're also going to have a system rule that says you must use the data dictionary for all classes and concepts. And then with the orchestration, what you can do is you can quickly link together, we'll say comparable regulations, comparable principles that you need to be adhering to. What that means is that with that orchestration, if there is another rule and another framework that we need to follow comparable here, we can input our business system rules, our subjective elements, the definition, and then in HOPEX with the UCF, we'll just apply it broadly. So you can apply it in one spot, and then you have you have it all right there available to you, and then we can generate reports. So I have a report, and it's really used as just sort of a reference guide. So we can select our framework, and then we have this report that shows me how am I actually adhering to these different regulations. So I have the regulation down the left-hand side, some inputs for the comment or explanation. What's the constrained data, the definition, and then who is ultimately responsible. So if I just wanted to highlight that before I scroll down, because in here we have our now famous rule that we should aggregate our risk data in a way that is accurate and reliable. It's getting into the data dictionary. What kind of application are we using? So I've defined it even further than what I had just shown in the input there on the characteristic, the ID card. But we've defined both of these rules. We have our input. So we have a person named Thomas who's a local application owner who is in charge of this certain application and this data. We're using the data dictionary. It belongs to HOPEX, which is a mega software. So this is intended to be a reference guide so that you can quickly point in the right direction. How do I actually prove that I'm adhering to these regulations? And then we've got a couple of other reports here that I'll show you, really just to give you kind of a look and feel for what we have to offer around reporting. So we have one, it's called a dendrogram. So it's a style of report. You can apply these however you like. So this, we're taking the different categorizations, and I'll just select several here. So golden data, and we'll also get sensitive data, refresh the report. And this is going to take all those categorizations that we input on our metadata and then initialize our business glossary from. And then we have a readout here, primarily from the application perspective, but it could be based on the business process also. So here are our categorizations: sensitive, biometric, contact, golden data, whatever it might be. And then we have the application. So this green and white puzzle piece, it's our own iconography, but this indicates that we're talking about an application. So airlines check-in, airport mobile. Here's the data that we're using there. So we've got this concept called booking, or maybe it's our aircraft example, whatever it might be. You can visualize this in a table if you like, in various other report formats. Here, it's just one, it's called a dendrogram. So this is one visualization. You can apply this to different types. And then we have a second data usage report as well. And this will show us how is our data being used. So we can select our concept. It could be a table, whatever you like. So I have a long list here of different data types. We're going to use the original example of the aircraft. So I just type it in and refresh our report. And then this will show us everywhere that this concept is being used. So you can, the starting point is up to you. You can start with the categorization. You can start with the data itself. And then here we have a view from our aircraft. This is the functional domain, the aircraft maintenance from our business glossary and our diagram that we saw earlier. And then we have it linked to the process. So screen and select candidates, perform aircraft maintenance, plan and schedule. Those are all the different processes that this data is actually used in. This is something you can drill into. So I could actually click on this, navigate to screen and select candidates, and then very similar to what we saw in the previous diagram, and then explore that, drill into it, further define that. And then we also have dashboarding capabilities. So what we've done is we've built out, and I'm switching here, this is just a short video. This is not within the platform right now, but this is a platform feature. So we have these dynamic dashboards that you can see here. So Fred talked about how do we actually build the community? Well, we've got a widget for that gives you a visualization straight into that. So how, what are the different domains? What are the different concepts? Have we properly assigned responsibility for our data designer, et cetera, whomever it might be? Then we've just got some different visualizations. I talked about data quality, the ability to assess your data. So we have a readout there. How complete is that? Have we defined all of our regulatory compliance? It's really up to you. Any of the reports, diagrams, visuals that I shared with you in this demonstration are available to be placed in as a tile on your home screen or within a dashboard style view such as this. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate for you today for data governance. As a reminder, just one last slide that I'll put up here. This is HOPEX. This is ultimately what we sell. This is a high-level view of the meta model. The webinar today is focused down here. Data governance, that's our business glossary, data dictionary, database, data discovery. But we do application portfolio management. That's where you can assess the health, understand life cycles of applications, link it to business capabilities, for example. We looked a little bit at the solution architecture. I quickly showed you the structure of an application, related it to a deployment. We did look at a business process model. I didn't show a customer journey map, but it works in the same kind of way as the process model, and Fred did show a slide there for that. Project portfolio management, there's a workflow for ideation where you can track ideas, convert them to demand, to candidate, ultimately create projects. Strategic planning is another piece of this, and then as well as GRC, so governance, risk, and compliance. Frameworks that we adhere to, TOGAF, of course. We do primarily focus on the mega outcome-driven approach. Notations, I mentioned some of these already, ArcMate, UML, BPMN, as well as content partners that we partner with that provide content, such as the BA Guild, UCF, which I mentioned here strongly. But that was my demonstration for today. Again, questions, comments, you have the question box. Otherwise, you can follow up with the team and we can provide a more in-depth demonstration as you like. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and I will send it back over to you.
Thank you, Nick, for this demonstration, our solution. I see we don't have any questions so far. So just please remember that you are able to contact us for any question you may have after the presentation, and the recording will be going to be made available for you. So what did we see today? So why should we connect EA and data governance? First thing is that EA is a way to shorten the setup of the data governance, especially to produce the business glossary. That is really important for business reuse, because that's the entry point for the businesses and the data scientists. First point. Second point is we saw that from solution architecture, this is one part of enterprise architecture, with the knowledge of the applications, the modules, and the flow between the different modules. It's a way to create and enhance creating business data lineage, just understanding what's going on. And that's really handy, because this is exactly what the regulator they want to have from companies and from IT directors. Next point is from EA, we saw that the enterprise architecture is the ability to create some business global conceptual models. These models, they give the links between data we know and the additional data that is actually the richness from the company. And by using standard data and the additional data, that's the starting point for the, they say, for the data scientists and the businesses to create innovation through AI, or to create additional performance enhancements in the company. Last point, EA is connected to strategy. The enterprise actor, they're able to define the capabilities, and they know how the capabilities will have to change, and they know how the IT system will have to change. So again, that's really valuable information, because it's there and it's available for the chief data governors to maintain the data governance programs in the long run. Okay, let's finish with 3 quotes from our 3 mega customers. So the question was, do you see and what's the value of joining forces between data governance and enterprise architecture? So in terms of synergy, the first testimony is coming from an international banking chief data officer. So in this bank, we can see that joining forces and identifying EA and data governance in the same repository. So just the chief data officer, he had some efficiency gains, and that was a way for him just to improve data communication. That's the first testimony. The second testimony is about coming from a chief data officer in the transportation industry. So the benefit of building data governance starting from EA and from EA knowledge and expertise. It was a benefit of structuring and promoting the data approach, not starting from a blank page. And that was a way just to get the first successes really quickly. The third testimony we have is from the airpress industry, our chief data officer. So the approach that was coming from business processes. So data governance was implemented from business processes. So business processes about business is knowledge about what's going on, but it's as well focusing on quality. So business process quality gave as well a really big view and let's say information on data categorization, what was really important to be done first and done after, and as well just linking the business process quality with data was really important as well for this chief data officer, and was a source of success for the initiative. So I can see again, as I mentioned, so we're just reaching the end of this webinar. I would like to thank you for participating today. We don't have additional questions. So if you have any question, if you want to discuss the topics of this webinar, if you want to have any additional information, or as Nick mentioned, if you have let's say longer or deeper let's say demonstration of our solution, we'll be really happy. So you can contact us. So we're going to send you that let's say the replay of this webinar, and we're just there for you if you need anything. So thank you again, and we're just wishing you a nice day. Bye-bye.